What's up, everybody? Happy Juneteenth. Well, to those of you who give a damn about it. Let me just say a few things here. You know, this is a day many years after July 4th, 1776, where black folks discovered we were free from slavery. And, eye booger. Discovered we were free from slavery. Meanwhile, for almost 100 years after July 4th, 1776, many people were still on the plantations picking cotton, getting beaten, or worse, people being forced on them in other ways. You know what I'm talking about? Which means, for me, this day, I reflect on people, honestly, that were way stronger than I can imagine myself to ever be. And what I mean is, my ancestors dealt with things that I know I wouldn't have been able to survive, because the level of mistreatment and disrespect that these men and women had to endure, I wouldn't have made it past probably age 10, 11, 12. It would have been early. It would have been very early. It's not that I'm a violent person or evil person per se, but simple things in this life, reading, writing. At a point in time, we weren't allowed to do that. If we got caught reading or writing, we could die. So part of the reason I'm such a passionate, intense, emotional person, I mean, those of you who know me, I joke and I laugh. I can have my moments. But when I reflect on what it took for me to have a chance to be here, I don't take that for granted. Because at the end of the day, my ancestors survived. If they didn't survive, I wouldn't be making this video right now. And through a little bit of research, because my aunt, she be on that type of ancestry stuff, she discovered and then enlightened me that my grandmother's grandmother was a slave. And she told me her name was Loretta Brown. So I'm a descendant of a slave. And when I think about a lot of the slaves who didn't make it, they didn't have a chance to see their offspring, if they had them, grow and develop and start families of their own. And then some of them who didn't have a chance to have offspring at all. So many legacies or potential legacies were tarnished. So, over the years, blood, sweat, tears, overcame struggles, got through the fears, continued to stand tall, even though we had many people who wanted us to fall. Even though some of us have fallen, y'all weren't forgotten. Even to this day, many folks feel we should do no more than just pick cotton. But I refuse to let them determine my fate, because the day you decide to lose all hope, then it's way too late. But I'll be damned if I ever let that day come as long as I'm breathing. Because when I think about all the blood, sweat, and tears, my mind, I'm seething. So I will continue to rise to the occasion. I refuse to give in to the temptation of fear, of failure. because I'm not a failure. I'm going to be a success. I may not be a Frederick Douglass, a Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, a Maya Angelou, a Harriet Tubman, or Marcus Garvey, but I'm me. And I'm going to be the best version of me I can ever be. And if I'm ever fortunate to become a father, I will make sure my son or my daughter become the best they can be, because it means a lot to me. This day, this is true Independence Day for Black people in these here United States of America. There's so much history that's being swept under the rug because people are uncomfortable with hearing the truth about how their ancestors treated my ancestors. Now, of course, they can say, oh, well, look at how some of you guys treat each other now. I mean, that's the cop out. They want to say black on black crime. But yet there are white people that kill each other. There are Asian people that kill each other. There's Hispanic people that kill each other, and vice versa. It's easy to want to deflect away when it comes to us. Obviously, in our community, we don't like the violence as a whole. I mean, yeah, you got some people in the black community who stay on that violent shit, but every background gonna have people like that. But overall, we're a peaceful people, because if you look at the history of this country, we didn't develop a system designed to benefit only one group, or mainly one group of people. Here it is, 2023, halfway through, we're still having the first black this, the first black that. But remember, we're in the land of equal opportunity for everybody. If it was equal opportunity for everybody, then a lot more people would have better opportunities. Because when I go to certain places for interviews or certain jobs I've worked, there have been many times I'm the only black man or black person in the room or in the building. And in 2023, when I go, if I, for example, I go to a job interview, I don't see no diversity, what happened to land of equal opportunity? Because America says one thing and does another thing. We want to portray this image to the world like we're this perfect country. No country's perfect. I mean, we're still able to do a lot of things here we're not able to do in other countries, but to each their own. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done here. And now, from what I've been seeing, our leadership is trying to force a certain way of life on nations in Africa. And many nations in Africa aren't big advocates of that way of life. Those of you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm one, love who you want to love, be with who you want to be with, all that stuff. But you can't force that on people. You can't. Because, you still have people who don't even have, they're still fighting for their civil rights as human beings, period, regardless of their sexual orientation. But some people, part of that way of life, y'all are fighting two battles. If you're black, you're still dealing with the racism. You're still dealing with prejudice. Then you got to add that with your lifestyle choice. So you deal in multiple battles. But even before this way of life that's trying to be pushed on people in Africa and other countries around the world, even before that fight, we're still dealing with this fight 400 years and counting. It's exhausting. It is exhausting. Excuse me. But then you have people say, oh, aren't you tired of playing the victim card? Aren't you tired? Listen, it's not that we're waking up wanting to be a victims, but in a sense, in a community that's had countless attempts to end us and erase us for many generations, we still here. You can't get rid of us. We are here to stay. The world wants us to be quiet on real social issues, but yet has no problem taking our music, taking the food, taking the culture, the clothes, everything that we do. Y'all have no problem taking it, tweaking it, and attempting to make it your own. I go out to the club sometimes, y'all want to, our hip hop, you want to mix it in with other stuff that you shouldn't mix it with. And every now and then they'll mix something that sounds kind of good, but I went out one time and how the hell the DJ was mixing Thuggish Ruggish Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony with some rock and roll type shit. Then all of a sudden, a few minutes later, I heard James Brown's Sex Machine mixed in with some techno type of shit. Y'all doing too much. By the way, happy 50th anniversary hip hop. It's like we invent something and the world wants to take it and adds its own twist to it. Because the world, for the most part, isn't bright and creative enough to come up with their own shit. But then the shit they come up with, nobody really likes it. So you come where the flavor is and get some flavor, and you want to get some money and profit off of it. Folks love to profit off of us, right? I'm going now. Like that movie, Straight Outta Compton. I remember they came out with the Straight Outta Compton gear, t-shirts, hats, shit like that. Now, ever since that movie came out, it's so many straight out of North Dakota, straight out of South Dakota, straight out of Australia, straight out of Austria, straight out of wherever, straight out of China. The world loves to take our stories, because Straight Outta Compton was based off of a hip hop group, NWA, all brothers. So the world loves to profit off of us. That movie was based on their origin, their struggles, their successes. It's straight out of North Dakota, straight out of South Dakota. Really? I mean, I'm all for people repping from where they from. That's fine. But it's like, if y'all gonna keep taking our shit, our ideas, you gonna keep profiting off of our struggles, share the wealth. But yet, whenever we had that conversation, it always, for the most part, seems to get shut down. There are many wrongs that have yet to be atoned for in America. It don't matter who you put in office. It don't matter what party you go for. Because at the end of the day, whether you red or blue, independent, these parties don't give a fuck about us. They say what they need to say to get your vote. Now, there are people who really want to try to make things happen, but they're a minor part of the spectrum because they're overlapped by a fat, huge part of the spectrum. They say there's strength in numbers. That goes in anything in life. Politics, sports, in just anything. There's strength in numbers. If you don't have enough strength, nothing's going to change. Here it is, 2023. We're still dealing with shit from 1923. And even 1823, 1723. But to each their own. Again, my ancestors are stronger than I could ever be. I'll admit that, because I know I wouldn't be strong enough to live past age 12. Because, as a kid, I was shy. People make fun of me. Some people pick on me, laugh. And, I wanted to make everybody happy. I was worried about what everybody thought of me. But then as I became an adult and I realized I spent too much time caring about what others think, people who don't give a damn if I live or die. Why am I worried about what they think? And when you find yourself and you learn to love yourself and accept yourself, I'm not perfect, but I love me. So when you get to the point and you realize you're not going to take shit off of people, that's when some people view you as negative, toxic, evil, because they can't get over on you anymore. And it feels good, because when people get over on you, it can hurt. It can weigh on you. No more. I'm returning energy. Regardless, if it's great energy, I'm sending great energy back. If you give me shitty energy, I'm giving you even shittier energy back. I love myself. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I'm still struggling with certain things, but I'm still here. As long as I'm breathing, I'm going to overcome. I'm not going to let anybody who is not black try to tell me how to feel, what to think, how to function, because there is nothing you can tell me about what it takes to be me. There's nothing you can tell me about being in this skin. It's not easy, but I wouldn't change it for anything in the world, even if I could. I love myself. I love my ancestors. I love my mother. I love my grandmother. I love my aunties. I love my uncle. Rest in peace. Until the wrongs that have been done have been made right, not much will change or get better. Now, everybody outside of the black community is not horrible. I have some great friends from different communities that in this aspect of what I'm talking about, some of them are trying to learn more, because they see that the curriculums aren't trying to give the full story. So I have some friends, they have some racist parents. They're trying to break the cycle. And, some of them, they actually check their parents. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, whoever. This ain't right. I've had friends go to bat for me. I didn't even have to ask them to. I remember this, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. I had a friend. Only way I can go visit my friend at their house is when their parents weren't home. And this one day, my friend said, my parents are on the way home. I don't want you to leave. I said, well, I'm not trying to have your parents shoot me or hurt me or whatever. They're like, I'm not going to let that happen. So I said, okay. I said, I'm going to trust you because I've known you a long time. I'm going to trust you. You never done anything to, make me suspicious. So my friend's parents get home. And his parents was like, why is he here? Friend said, Mom, Dad, you remember those bullies that would pick on me and sometimes beat me up in school? They say, yeah, is he a part of them? He's like, no. And he said, you remember that day I told you I finally stood up to those bullies and fought back? They said, yeah. They said, well, Eugene taught me how to defend myself. Eugene gave me the courage and the strength not to be afraid anymore. And if it wasn't for Eugene, I probably wouldn't be here right now. And my friend started crying. And I'm just sitting there quiet. I'm letting this just transpire, because... And his father looked at me, and his mom looked at me, and I'm just looking at them. And it was just an awkward silence for about a minute. And then his father extended his hand out. And then me being me, I said, you sure you want to touch me? You might get some shade on your skin. His dad he looked like he was pissed, and he just busted out laughing. And then from that day forward, I was welcome in the house. His father thanked me for having his boys back. And I said, you don't have to thank me because I know your son would have done the same for me. Your son just did the same for me. So there are some great white people in the world. So those of you who are still listening to this point, I don't want you trying to twist my shit, because I'm smart enough to know that everybody's not on that evil, racist, prejudice bullshit, systematic, white supremacist bullshit. I know everybody's not on that. But some black people have only experienced that from the white population. So that's all they know. In a sense, you can't fault them because that's all they know. I've met white people who haven't encountered their first black person until they was 20 years old, 30 years old. I met a woman, this was 2019. She said she's from Maine. She said she didn't meet her first or see her first black person until it was 2015. And she's a few years older than me, so she was 29 at the time or something like that. So she didn't see her first black person until she was 25 years old. In person. She's seen us on TV and stuff like that, but that speaks volumes. So that leads me to wonder, what the hell is going on up there in Maine? But then again, I remember years ago, they had a governor talking about going around shooting black people, exterminating black people, some shit like that. Look it up on Google. But it's exhausting being in this skin. I wouldn't change it if I could. Thank you to all my ancestors for making it possible for me to be me.